You guys, we're excited to be on today. We're going to be talking about gamification, leaderboards, incentives, all kinds of things, which are hopefully going to help drive the success of your company and sales within your company. So the most expensive tool, I tell this to everyone, the most expensive tool that you can have is the tool that you are not utilizing. And we don't want that to be the case with RepCard. There are so many features on RepCard, you guys. It is an extensive tool. It is so much to handle in such a good way, but you actually need to really know and understand the depths of it. So we're going to make sure that you guys can actually understand the app and all of that it has to offer and integrate that within your companies on a deeper level. So I'm going to jump on. This is just our demo account, you guys. So we're going to go through this here quickly. Those of you guys know all about our dashboard here. We have updated actually like our side panel over here. So that's kind of been something to get used to, as you can see. But I'm going to dive right into our leaderboards here. There are some that are already on here. They're pre-built for you guys, which makes things really nice. You can create your own leaderboards, but there's also some that are just templated for you that are excellent. So right here, we've got overview leaderboard, DDD leaderboard, a recruiting leaderboard, engagements. These are all things that are already set up for you, which is really nice when you jump onto your RepCard account. We all know that the driving force of sales is going to be these competitions and incentives. And that's just how sales operates. And it's also just the competitiveness of it. So if we can actually show numbers through our leaderboards, this is really going to, just skyrocket your business and what you've got going on here. So
the leaderboards that you can see inside the platform are for the people that are within like a business account. Inside of the platform for companies, you have an option to have a leaderboard flow here. And so I'll show this here, and then I'll show how you can build the leaderboards. But the leaderboards are going to allow you to have different metrics here. And so in this case, let's say you are a door-to-door company and you wanted to track the rep's first door knock of the day, their last door knock of the day. You could track how many doors they've knocked. You could track the verified door knocks, meaning verified means that they were within 300 feet of the house when they knocked the door. And then you can do like a verified door knock percentage. And so it's one thing if a guy says that he knocks 100 doors, but it's another thing if he has 5% verified. That means he's probably sitting at the McDonald's down the street and he's knocking doors, quote unquote, virtually, which is kind of an oxymoron. And then you can track conversations, closing percentages. The ideas are endless, guys, of what you can create here. And so within RepCard, there's default metrics that we track. And then with those default metrics, you can then go create new percentages and different things. And I'll show you that here in a sec. And so for you teams that are on here, you can have different teams within your office. So let's say you have like your different teams, and then you can have your different offices. And that way you can see, okay, great. This office here is knocking a lot of doors. Let's say that you went to like this year and you see that this office here is knocked 1,500 doors. You could click on it and you can see who is helping make those numbers happen. And so if you're a leader and you want to drill down, and then you can even click into a sales rep and you can see a little bit more about this person. Or if you're a new person to the company and you want to get to know about this guy that's always at the top of the leaderboard, you can click in here. You can call him, text him, and be like, hey, dude, can you train me? Give me some coaching, guidance, things like that. And then you can see all of his reviews that he's generated, see what people are saying about him. You could even take it one step further and share those reviews right to your Instagram. Once you click Instagram, it will literally open up your Instagram and put it right on your stories so that you can post it. And then we're going to be dropping some features by the end of the year, so you'll be able to do badges and statistics as well. The stats already exist there for the individual, but we're going to give it in a different format, so it's really nice and easy to read. And then you'll be able to assign and distribute badges as a company.
Yeah, and that's a fairly new added thing. So if your reps are unaware of that, but it's actually really cool to kind of see like their player card and see their stats and whatnot. Again, it goes back to just being competitive, and that's what's going to drive them and push them. I've seen like, stack your top rep, and then you get a new guy in and they really now have another top rep to face up against, and we'll really see what they're made out of now. So this is really cool added feature. I love that.
Yeah, lots of lots of options there to kind of just drill down. And then you can also view the data in different formats if you want to view it in more of an Excel spreadsheet style. You can view it that way, or you can view it by kind of card view. And you can see everyone's face and kind of put a face to the name and see different metrics and who's doing first throughout this flow. And then, of course, you can have different metrics. So let's say you are a company that wants to always be recruiting. You can have metrics based on recruits added, how many people are they interviewing, how many people are currently signed recruits, how many guys are selling, fully hired, and you can customize all these in here as well. And so the reviews and referrals, you can see this leaderboard here in the repcard.com option in the web. It shows referrals and reviews. It's a leaderboard called engagements. And so it tracks more of like, how many cards have you sent out? How many engagements are you getting? How many video views? You know, how many referrals are you getting? And then reviews, and then your average rating. So you can leverage that as well to kind of see effort and see what people are doing outside of just sales. Maybe someone's getting the most referrals in the company and you guys want to run a training on what they're doing so that they can share with everybody else how to get referrals. Because truth be told, referrals are a separate sale. If you've been in sales for a while, you know that getting referrals is not easy. And sometimes they just pop up and those are nice, but to actually have a referral engine, you have to put effort into it. And after you sell a customer, you actually have to have another process. And we can maybe go over that in a different webinar, but you have to have a different process around referrals to actually generate referrals and incentivize the customers with money or with a discount in order to get them to take action. And there's different ways to do that. So we'll cover that in another webinar. But inside of our back office here, you can come into the leaderboard section, and this is where you can like reorder leaderboards based on which ones are more important. And then within, like, let's say that door-to-door leaderboard that we were messing with earlier, this is where you have all your different metrics. It showed first door knock, last door knock, total doors knocked, verified, and so on. And so you can reorder these over here, drag and drop these and put them in whatever order you need to. And then you can see some of these are default metrics and some of these are custom. And what that means is the default ones are built by RepCard. They're things that we track systematically. And then we let you use those metrics to create other metrics. So this verified door knock metric is custom. So if I go to the settings of it, what we did is we came in here and we first gave it a name. Then we give it a short name or like an acronym. Because sometimes in our platform, we only have space to show 4 characters on a mobile phone screen. And so we make you give an acronym so that we can help the reps understand what it is. And then we chose to have a formula-based data type. And then we took verified door knocks and we divided it by the total number of door knocks, and that equals the new metric that we've created called verified door knocks. Then we chose to display it as a percentage up to 1 decimal point. And so you can see how that was created, but if I wanted to go create a stat from scratch, you can come up here, give it a name and kind of what I just went through. But then the other options we have are appointment-based metrics or formula-based, or contact status-based. So when it's appointment-based, this is where you can really dig in. If you're using our calendar tool, it lets you build out stats for setters or for closers differently. You can choose different appointment dates as attribution. Some people like to make appointments for setters based on when the appointment was set, because that's typically a setter goes out today, works really hard, and he gets 3 sets. He wants to show on the leaderboard that he had 3 sets today. Even though 1 was the same day and 2 were for tomorrow, it accumulates all 3 of them based on today because that's when they were set. Or you can do it based on the day of the appointment. So in that same scenario, it would show him 1 appointment set for today and 2 for tomorrow. And then you can work with different things like self-gen or non-self-gen appointments, or collect them all together. And then it lets you filter down by what is happening at the appointment. So if you had an appointment that sat, you could create a metric that incorporates all of the sat metrics. You could do it for a closer and do appointment date, and then you would call this something like sats or sits. And then this would say something like, this metric displays the total sits for a closer. And so you can see here what's happening is we're going to track, and we're going to maybe put this inside of the closer leaderboard, and it's going to allow us to track anytime that the setter goes to a house and he chooses that the appointment did sit, maybe it didn't close, or they had bad credit, or he sold them. It doesn't matter what happened. It's going to incorporate all three of these, and it's going to track those as a different metric called sit. And so, and then you could also say, well, I only want to include self-generated appointments only. And what that does is it tracks only if the setter and the closer are the same user in our system. Because some companies want to track self-gen appointments for different competitions, and we're going to get into the competitions here in a minute. But you can customize and create all of this. Let me give you one more scenario. So let's say conversations is a big deal. So you want to create one called conversations. And so this is the number of conversations a rep has in the field. So what happens here is you say, okay, I want to do the data type by contact status, and you come down here to leads. When you knock a door, if the person's not home, does that mean that you had a conversation with them? No, it doesn't. So then you don't choose that one. If you set an appointment with them, though, that means you had a conversation with them. If you pitched them and you didn't sell them, that's a conversation. And so you just choose all the different statuses. A go back means you had a conversation. And you just go through this whole list. Even a not interested means that you had a conversation. Now, when it gets to things like already has solar, maybe you're like, I just skip those houses. I do mark them in my maps, but I actually don't knock those doors. So that's not a conversation. Maybe if it's a renter, that's still a conversation, but maybe your company says, we don't want to track conversation with renters because that doesn't really do us doesn't do us any good. Or maybe following up. So there's a bunch of random stuff in here because this is a demo account, and sometimes over the course of doing demos, we add stuff and it kind of looks funky. But let's say that out of these, there's maybe 12 or 15 different options in here. You want to take only these 7 or 8. And these are the ones that I'm going to accumulate to create a metric called conversations. So if I knock a door and disposition it as not home, it's not going to give the sales rep credit for a conversation. And so this is where you can really save this. We already have one in here called conversations. If I edit that, you're going to see that it's kind of the same thing. And what's going to happen is you could then take that metric that you created of conversations, you could do a formula based, and you could say, I want to do my total conversations divided by my total doors knocked. And that's going to give me like my conversation percentage of how many conversations I'm having per door knock. And it seems like a weird metric, but it could be something where one rep is getting a lot of conversations or is way above the average or whatever. And maybe it's because he's skipping through yards and he's cutting through, like he's not bouncing around and he's staying focused on the doors. There could be a lot of different metrics you can create in here, or you could add metrics, divide, multiply, and all that stuff. So does anybody have any questions so far about the metrics before we kind of jump into how they integrate with our competitions?
While we wait for questions, Brad, that's something that we see a lot of, is that if you've create one of your own metrics to measure and you've included all of these things count as a conversation, and then a lot of times we'll get questions on, this pin isn't showing up. Like I keep marking this house and it's not showing up. It's probably that specific reason right there, is that it's not added into that metric as being recognized as a conversation being had. So always double check that if you happen to see that on your account or a pin is not showing up.
Yeah, and there's also can be filters turned on
Yes.
inside the maps as well. So sometimes people will drop a pin and then the pin quote unquote disappears, and it's because they filtered out that they don't want to see not homes right now. They just want to see go backs. And maybe they started the day. That's what I used to do when I knocked doors. I'd start out the day going to all my go backs. If I didn't talk to them the night before, they told me to come back and they weren't home, I'd go back and start with the juiciest, leads I had in my area.
Right.
And so, but then you leave that filter on and then you go to your first door knock and you drop a not home and it quote unquote disappears. People freak out and think that like RepCard's broken,
Not
and it's really
tracking
just
it.
a filter that's not, it's automatically filtering out that pin, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Cool. So is my screen still shared?
Yeah, it's still showing. You're good, Brad. The other thing that I'll just note really quickly, I know you're jumping on, but You guys can turn these off. We get that all the time. And that's another thing, that if you don't want to see these, you can turn the visibility on or off, or utilize those leaderboards that are templated for you or not. So completely up to you, but it's extremely customizable in what you want to see and how you want to, configure and show these leaderboards. So
Yeah.
to you.
Yep. And so for demos, we've done these formula-based metrics, and we went and built out 52 different metrics that just tons of options and customizations that you can do. And so when we're on demos with clients, we'll come in here and show them the leaderboard and go to this formula-based. And it's got setter sit percentages, setter conversion percentages, closing percentages, doors knocked to closed. I mean, there's just so much you can put in here. So, and again,
Different
this is
view.
kind of an easy way to follow it along per sales rep and so on.
Love it.
Cool. So let's jump into competitions now. So all of these metrics are able to be leveraged in competitions. You can see over here it says configure in games. And so inside of our app, we have this games option. And when you create a competition, you can choose between different options. When you create a competition, it lets you choose a sales battle. That's going to let you choose between like maybe 20 different sales reps, and they're all battling each other. You remember Mario Go-Kart when you were a kid, and you all start out and you're all racing against each other. And then that can also be teams. You can also have teams and create 10 different teams, and all 10 teams are competing against the other teams. The other option we have is head-to-head. You can do rep head-to-head. So that lets you pick multiple people that want to go up against each other. So let me get to this next screen, and I want to choose Michael Jordan versus this Michael, hit add, and then I can add another duo here. And I want to choose Angel versus Blake. And you can see you can continue to build out multiple head-to-heads inside of one head-to-head competition. So you don't have to go create 20 different head-to-heads. You can do one head-to-head competition and dictate who they are. You can also do this for team. So you could create car groups, and you could have these 4 guys. It's not, if you go back here to teams and hit next, then I'm going to be creating these 3 people on a team, and it auto assigns an emoji and a title, just so you don't have to do that. And then I'm going to also do these 3 guys. So now I've got the Foxes versus the Eagles, and then you can add another duo. Or not duo, but another group of people. And this can be 3 people, it could be 10 people or whatever, but you get the point. You can create kind of whatever you want to inside the competition for the head-to-heads. And then we have what we call cycles. And then we have another one called milestones. And what these are is it allows the rep to chase a certain incentive. And I'll just show you here on the other side. So maybe a sales rep wants to chase this helicopter tour, and what they have to do in order to earn that is they have to have 100 installs. And then they would start out here chasing a gift card for 25 installs, and then they go to the next one of 50 installs and then 100. And so the prizes get bigger and bigger as time goes on. Here's another just example. They can change. So if you start out here at the very bottom, you just have to knock 10,000 verified doors and you get a Tesla. It's that easy. And then you go to the next one, you got to get 100 reviews in order to earn the Suron. And then you've got to do all of these things in order to earn a resort trip, like a vacation. And so you can see how dynamic they can be for sales reps to go chase and to work towards these different incentives. And then some of the other competition types are rep versus rep. So this is kind of like that head-to-head, 16 people, all against 16 people. They're all against each other. In order to win one of these prizes, here's the different rules. The player with the most points wins. And then this is how they score. For every 10 verified door knocks, they get 1 point. For every conversion or conversation, they get 2 points. For every signed person, they get 10, and so on. And so you can really have all of these different metrics going into how people earn points.
And in order to custom build these out, you guys, it needs to be on the app currently. That's another question that we get a lot of the time. You do build these out in your app, not on your back end.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. And then you can share who's doing what. You can share those right to your Instagram. So you can share and it opens up on your Instagram stories. And this is where you could tag, in this case, Jess. Nice job, Jess, for winning this competition or being in first. And then we've got Brad and then Tate and then these other participants. You could tag people and really create some hype and some excitement in the company, um, without having to go and build out these little cards or,
Graphics and flyers.
yeah, the graphic and all the other stuff. So we try to make it easy for you, even on your marketing team, to be able to leverage that. And then it tells you who you're behind. So I'm X amount of points, 5,000 points behind Jess, as you can see here. And then these are the dates to the competition. So um, let me find a head-to-head here. So this one's got head-to-head, and it's got, these guys against this rep and so on. And so everybody can see this, and you can also share these to Instagram as well, and it kind of shows what the first and last place is. So when you build out a competition, you have first place prizes, and you can also have dares that they have to do if they lose, kind of punishments. And maybe they have to eat a bug or sing the Star Spangled Banner in front of the team, or whatever the case may be.
Another really cool thing, Brad, too, is that depending on your roles and permissions, you guys, you actually can give access to them to set up their own competitions or call each other out into head-to-head battles. So if you do allow reps permission in your roles, then they can actually call somebody out, set up their own 1v1s against each other, rep to rep head battles, which is really fun for them. So it doesn't always need to come from you setting up every competition, every incentive. But I've seen it within companies where they call each other out. They do that throughout the week, which is really fun.
Yeah, that's actually a really good flow there. So yeah, depending on your company, they can give you the access to come in here and just create one for you to do a head-to-head with your own teammates. So, does anybody have any questions around the competition builder? And then let's just open it up for all Q&A. That's kind of the flow that we had today for the webinar, to go over the leaderboards and the competitions. I mean, over the overall concept is that, people react to incentives in predictable ways, and you can kind of predict the behavior if you incentivize and encourage people to do certain things and give them an incentive to do it, then they will be driven to make those actions. But let's just open it up to anything for the next like 10 minutes. If anybody has any questions, RepCard wide, we could go into any topic. We can answer any questions around that.
Brad, I'll ask some questions while we wait for questions. You guys throw them in the chat. We're ready for your questions. We want to help you guys out. Give us your own personalized questions that you've got, and we can help you out there. A lot of questions that we get are maybe on integrations with your competitions, leaderboards, or how the leaderboards can directly show up in your CRM. Talk to us about some of the integrations that you've seen.
Yeah. So you're saying as far as like pushing the data to the CRM?
Yeah.
Yeah. So anything that's inside of our platform, whether it's a contact or an appointment, you can push all that data to a CRM. Sometimes people do have leaderboards outside of our platform, and that's totally fine. Sometimes they already have a really sophisticated CRM and they just want to take the metrics out of our platform. And so inside of the settings here, if I go down to our API, we have full API documentation or webhooks. What this allows you to do is create a webhook. And I know for some of you, this is over your head. But you can post, it's called a post. You post data over to the other system, and you can say, okay, anytime there's an appointment set, I want to send that data over to my particular CRM. And so you'd use that through the webhook URL here. And every time a rep in your company sets an appointment, we'll push over tons of data over to your CRM, and then that can be tracked with leaderboards over in those platforms. Now, you can also pull data in from other platforms. That's another one we see where maybe you're knocking doors, you set an appointment, the closer goes to the house and he closes it. Our system typically doesn't know that the job is closed because it happened outside of RepCard. And so then you want to bring that closed data back into our platform, and you can create custom metrics where data is being posted back into RepCard, and then you can run a leaderboard with it, and then even competitions. Just depends on how you want to do it. If you need help with that stuff, reach out to us. Some of that stuff does cost. for our developers to put the time into building a custom integration for you. But like we said, if you can drive real behavior from it, the cost is low because you're going to get more deals and get your guys to stick around longer. Not going to have to train people every single week because you'll have people sticking around longer in your organization.
Yeah, the cost is for sure minimal and definitely worth it, but we do have a team that's what they do. They work in that all day and can help you with your integrations. So if you need more integrations help, let us know. We've got an integrations team. Christina, I'm gonna put you on the spot because I know you and you're in roofing and whatnot. Tell us how long you've been on the platform and how you've been utilizing RepCard competitions or what you've seen in your experience, or if you need any help with anything as well with that.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, we got you.
So we've been using RepCard for several years now. We started out originally just using RepCard for the digital business card aspect, and then found it was much more cost effective and just as useful as the other canvassing software we were using. So we pulled all of our canvassing efforts into RepCard. What prompted me to get on this webinar today is we really do want to add the gamification piece and launch that in 2026. So getting that set up, but we love using RepCard. We do have our integration set up with Job Nimbus. So when a contact is created in RepCard, it goes over to Job Nimbus. Would definitely like to get that going the other way too. If we could get some of those statuses updated from Job Nimbus to RepCard. So that's something I'm going to add to my to-do list for this year.
No, I love that. Yeah, Christina, I would love to jump on a call with you at some point and kind of show you some competitions and some leaderboard things that we can do to help you out. Okay, well, if there's no other questions, you guys, I think we'll wrap this up. Again, we appreciate you getting on today with the masterclass. We'll see you guys next week on the webinar, same time, same place, Thursday, 1 o'clock Mountain Daylight Time. Go out and do good, be kind.
Let's do it. Thanks, Jess.
Have
Thanks,
a good
team.
one, you guys.
Thanks, Jess. Bye.
Bye-bye.